This is Odoo Gaming here. Just checking back in, doing a new video for a tier list for the NFL season. Um, it's been a while since I've done any content. Mostly just been relaxing, just hanging out playing Riftbound. Um, just recently bought a house. Just haven't really had the idea to just go ahead and make any videos with the Pokemon series that I was doing, but I do want to get back into making some content here soon. Part of that is my main office that I was shooting or recording my videos is actually in my son's nursery. So, with that being said, going to a new home, I will have my own dedicated office again, which is going to be nice, which means that I should be able to start putting out a little bit more content than what I was doing, because I did have to stop pretty abruptly with him migrating more over to the nursery. So yeah, I do want to put some things out there that I am going to try to branch into more categories, I would say is the right term. We look more into sports, try to get an idea of what does work as we're going through this. I'm pretty passionate about sports for the most part. Right now, World Cup's going on. I'm not going to pretend like I care about soccer. I don't. But as we're coming up on that 45-day lull before August, just figured I'd put some of my thoughts on there out there about the upcoming NFL season and see what we can do. But sure, there'll be more videos like this coming in the future. Maybe some more Riftbound related content for gaming. Maybe start getting back into League of Legends, start putting some content out on that, and maybe start going back into my Little Lock series. But for now, we're just going to do a quick tier list, hopefully, to get an idea of where I believe that most of these teams for the next season will be sitting at. I'm not a super analyst. I have not been super tied into free agency. Just been super busy. So I will be going off of just basically how I feel about the team. Give a quick rundown over how their schedule looks. For example, since the Giants are first on the list, I have the Giants schedule pulled up. And we'll go team by team, and just to get an idea of what I expect their records to be, and just kind of review their draft, just to get an idea out there. But yeah, I'm excited to get this started. Let's see what we can do. So, like I said, first team we got coming up, we got the New York Giants. New York Football Giants. Shout out to lomolist.com. It's the only website that I could get to work without flooding me with ads. But hopefully this will cooperate with me as I'm going through this. I guess I should have pulled up what their records were for last year. NFL standings. Just to get an idea of how teams looked. So last year we know that the Giants, they went, this is the AFC, NFC, Giants went 4-13. I think the Giants are better than this record says. I think that if it was not for Cam Scadaboo getting hurt, that Jackson Dart and the Giants would have had a better year. I don't know exactly the record they had with both of them in the game at the same time, but I want to say that they at least won the first two games there. I know that there was still a comeback by the Broncos that kind of threw off the rest of the year for them. Though it might have been an already lost year at that time anyway. But I think losing Cam, who honestly outside of how Jackson Dart was playing, was kind of like the life and soul of the team. It felt like to me. Um, really, really just like set them up for failure. So all looking at their draft, I would say that they did get one of the better offensive tackles out of the draft with Francis Maigoa. I'm going to butcher these names, I'm sorry. And Arvell Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. I think both of these players are good to build a foundation on. And I don't see any reason to why they can't be immediate factors for that team to help out with already a team that's kind of struggling and been in a rebuild for a while. I would like for the Giants to get back into the fold so that the way the NFC East is more than just a one-headed monster right now. But I still think that the Giants are probably a little bit out of that road. Malachi Fields is a little bit underrated. I think that he may have a really good rookie year. But other than that, none of these other names like really jump out to me. A bunch of like deaf pizzas. So I think that overall that the Giants probably, if I'm seeing this going over the schedule, week 1 at Cowboys, I am expecting a loss. Rams, I'm expecting a loss. I think they do get their first win at Tennessee. Just to make sure that I'm reading this rightly. Yeah, so I do think they get their first home win against Tennessee. Yeah, first home game against Tennessee. I do think they lose to Cowboys on tonight. I think they should beat the Cardinals. I will say that for a lot of conference division games, I'd say it's very hard to say that with a division game that you can't. You can usually expect them to split. I think that, and I will touch on this a little bit later once we get to the Commanders game, I think that this is really ultimately going to depend on how healthy Jaden Daniels is. If Jaden Daniels is healthy, then this is a loss. If the Giants are healthy and Jaden Daniels is not, then I think that this could very easily be a New York Giants win. So, especially since it looks like this is in Maryland, I'm gonna say that this is probably gonna be a loss regardless. But I would not be surprised if the Giants could win this game. So I would not be surprised by that. Saints, Giants should beat the Saints. I think every team should probably be able to beat the Saints. Giants versus Texans. I think the Texans wash them. Eagles. The Eagles are still the best team in the division, in my opinion. Commanders on Thursday night. I think they get their win back to 10. That would be week 10. So it looks like they have a bye in there somewhere. Week 6, 7, week 8 is their bye. So loss. Week 10's a win. Week 11, Jaguars probably loss. Colts probably loss. Niners probably loss. Seahawks probably loss. Browns probably are in a tank mode, so I'd say probably a win. Lions should be a loss. Cowboys, I'll say probably a loss, and then Eagles I'll say probably a loss. So looks like that I have the New York Giants for looks like the 2026 season going. Yikes! It doesn't look like they on my scale are getting much better. Looks like they are going to be going 5, and man, this is just hard and just weird 5-12 next season. So definitely, definitely not what I expected from them. I will say that. So 5-12 from what I'm seeing. I'm gonna say that they are going to be right in the. It's really hard because I want to say that for my tier system here, I got your Super Bowl contenders, teams I expect to be the Super Bowl, playoff teams, wild card. Um, with them getting 5 wins, I'm gonna put the Giants probably in C tier. My C tier is going to be basically anywhere between teams that could probably squeak out 4 to 7 wins in a season. D tier is going to be for teams that I don't think are going to be there and are probably going to be top 5 in the draft order. So that's just how I'm going to quickly do this. But yeah, that's how I feel about the Giants so far. So let's see if we can go to Denver. Let's see if we can do that real quick. All right, Denver Broncos. All right, so I think that I will speak for a lot of people that I think that the Denver Broncos had a really good season last year. I think that they definitely jumped ahead of the game with where they are. At the team, I think Bo Nix greatly overperformed, in my opinion. But I do think that he did prove that he could be a quarterback in the NFL. I think that, and I just want to take a look at their schedule last year. I feel like the Broncos really benefited from having a not so strong schedule the year before. I don't remember the record that they went the year before, but the Broncos looks like they had pretty much the opposite of what the Chiefs had in 24-25. Looks like that they were the people that were benefiting the most from one-score games last year. So a lot of these games could have went a different way. This Giants game could have went a different way. This Jets game could have went a different way. This Eagles game, all these games that they have here. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games to which the Broncos won by one score or less. I think that does mean that they probably overperformed a little bit. I'm not going to take anything away from them. I do think that they had a pretty decent free agency signing. I don't remember exactly who they signed this past year. They traded for Jalen Waddle. That's a big trade. Good. Bo Nix, a good weapon. Nick Bonino obviously had a great year last year. Probably will have another great year again this year. J.K. Dobbins coming in. He's got a lot to prove. Cortland Sutton always been pretty solid. So I think that the pieces are there that they could do a little bit better. I won't say a little bit better. They went 14-3, so it's hard to do much better than 14-3. But I do think that they will probably be in contention again to win the AFC West. I do think this is a big signing. So let's take a look at their schedule. And I do think that a lot of it does come down to this first game on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. Broncos at Chiefs, not a good, easy place to play. So I just, because of the way that the Chiefs are, I will say that this is probably still going to be a loss. Vikings versus Broncos versus Jaguars. I think the Broncos should win that game. Rams Broncos. I'm going to put this as a loss. 49ers Broncos. I will say that the Broncos can win that. So that they probably split with the Chargers. Week 6 against the Seahawks. Oof. Could go either way. We'll say right now my gut is telling me loss for the Broncos here on Thursday Night Football. Week 7, Broncos Cardinals. Broncos should absolutely be able to come back and beat them. Go be it by week 8. Week 9 at Panthers. That should be a win. Week 10. They have a week 7 by week 8 and then by week 10. That's weird. Unless I'm just reading that weird. But anyway, sure, let's just say that's another bye. Whatever. Broncos Raiders will be a win. Steelers will be a win. Dolphins will be a win. Jets will be a win. Patriots. Why does this look weird to me? Okay, let's just get rid of this and let's just go down the line. Alright, so Chiefs. No. Jaguars, yes. Rams. No. 49ers. Yes. Chargers. Split. So 2, 3. I'm sorry, 3 and 2 here. 3 and 3 here. 4 and 3. 5 and 3. 6 and 3. 7 and 3. What? Why is this so weird looking? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. Hold on. Am I just seeing this weird? What am I not seeing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so there's some weeks missing on here. So I'm gonna niche the whole idea of like just like projecting their record. I'm gonna say that with wish I could change these. That's the only thing that I can't change about this is these brackets, because I wish I could change these to wins. If this is a team that's going to have 5 wins, I do think that the Broncos are going to be a playoff team. So I do think that they probably will get about 10 to 12 wins, is what I'm going to say. Just based off of what I've seen so far, it looks like that they have a very favorable schedule once again. I think a lot of teams are probably going to regress. So I'm only using this just to get an idea like where their schedules are now. Philadelphia Eagles. Just looks like a lot of these teams just don't schedule is posted on here. That's kind of annoying. Is it on here? Let's see. There should be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, we got 17 games on this schedule. So, real quick, just going down the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, probably one of the better teams in the NFC. Didn't really need to do a whole lot of reloading. I don't think anything is really going to change about Philadelphia. They did get some new toys for receivers. They'd load up with tight end. And then it just was like a lot of depth is where they ended up going. Another secondary was having some issues, but so does look like they did some addressing to that as well. But honestly, as far as the Eagles go, until proven otherwise, I do think that this team is probably top of playoff potential teams, and probably could even be a Super Bowl contender. I think if I had to gamble right now, I would say that based off of the NFC, that they are probably the best team in the NFC. So I think just based off of the idea of having that in my head, they are. Well, I guess I can't say that they're the best team in the NFC because I do have some opinions about that a little bit later. I will say right now that they are a Super Bowl contender, but I think that they are right now at the top of playoff teams at the moment. Let's see. Let's go to the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, just a quick glance over their schedule. Oof. It looks like this could be a hard year for the Dolphins. Just looking at the schedule, this is one of the tougher schedules that I think I've seen so far. Losing to the Raiders, I'm winning and beating the Raiders. Francisco Mendoza's first game. Maybe the lights are there for Mendoza playing at home in Oakland. So I could see this being a win for the Raiders. I think this is probably going to be a Dolphins win. For Dolphins' sake, I hope it is, because if it's not, I do not see them beating the Niners. I do not see them beating the Chiefs. I do not see them beating the Vikings. I do not see them beating the Bengals if the Bengals are healthy. I'll say they split with the Jets. They will lose both games against the Patriots. They will lose to the Lions. They will lose to the Colts. They will lose both games to the Bills. Split with the Jets. They will lose to the Broncos. They will lose to the Bears. They will lose to the Packers. They'll lose to the Chargers. They'll lose to the Bills, like I said, and the Patriots. So I think that this is very easily a team that is competing for the number 1 overall pick. I hope I'm wrong, but I expect like 3 wins based off of the schedule. That's brutal. Next, Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings. Well, I guess if we're going back to the Dolphins real quick, I don't know if they did anything in free agency. But let's just take a look. Man, there is not a lot. Honestly, I just wish I didn't click it. So, alright, so Minnesota Vikings. Didn't see anything that like jumped out at me like right away. There we go. Draft picks. Dolphins. Yeah, it looks like they hit on it. They got Caden Proctor, good tackle. Wow, I didn't realize they had so many draft picks. Wow, they have a lot of youth coming in to play football. That's also probably going to lead to like some of these this record, but surely some of these guys are going to be able to play, but that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a development year, like they're saying here. It's going to be rough. Minnesota Vikings. I'm always really lukewarm on the Vikings. I think that the Vikings, they're crazy because I think the Vikings could either be a C to a B team, and I think they could also be an A to an S team. I don't know. The Vikings are always kind of in like that weird area of like they can be good, but they are either like supremely mid to where they're not exactly a high caliber playoff team, but they'll sneak into the wild card, or they'll end up having like 5 to 10 wins, and they just kind of like middle out. Like it just, they're hard to predict. I will say that they are probably right there in the middle. I think it really just depends on how well Kyler Murray does this year, and I think that ultimately, if they could get some of these games on their early schedules to flip, I think that they could potentially have another sneaky good season. But I think that the Vikings are kind of like the definition of a mid-tier team for me. So that's really all I want to say about them on that. Their draft looks pretty about what you expect. They hit most of their needs. Yeah, I just don't really. I don't know. I just don't really like get anything from this team. Like it just seems very lackluster. Now, the Bears. I think the Bears have the potential to be one of the scariest teams in the league. I just don't know if they know that. They have a decent schedule. I do not think that their schedule is too hard in a lot of things. I think there's a lot of games on here that they probably should win. I think they probably split with everybody in the division, so that's already 4. I think that they beat the Jets. I think they beat the Panthers. I think they beat the Saints. I think they beat the Falcons. That's 8 wins. Beat the Dolphins. It's 9 wins. Can beat the Jags. It's potentially 10 wins. 10 wins just from vibes. 11 wins if they can beat the Patriots. So I think the Bears have a potential to be scary. But I don't know if the Bears realize that, and I think they'll only go as far as they could keep themselves in. So I will say probably fringe playoff contender. Probably not. Say probably wild card, or maybe they sneak in as a winner of the division. But I think that they are pretty comfortably in the position to be talking about the playoffs. But I really think that they could be literally anything from here to here. Like it just ultimately depends on what Bears team shows up. So right now, just based off of the schedule and the pure raw paper and how they performed last year, I'd say that they are probably in this tier range of being able to contend for a wild card, maybe even potentially win the division and get into the playoffs. 49ers, same thing. I think that they do have a potential to win the division. I do not think that they will. I think the division, and I'll go over this later, but I think that that they are probably the most likely for a wild card team, and that's just without me even looking at their schedule. I think that the Niners are probably the most equipped, and honestly, I'm probably just going to go ahead and grab them and put them up here too. But I think the Seattle Seahawks are probably in this tier too. I know they just won the Super Bowl, but I think that there's a real chance that the NFC West has three teams in the playoffs again, and I would not be surprised if it's these three, um, these two, in the wild card. Um, so that's my thought on that. Obviously, Seattle, I think, can go here. I think that they are a Super Bowl contending team. With respect to them, I will put them in Super Bowl contender. Um, but I do think ultimately Seattle will be a wild card based off of stuff I'm going to say later. Chiefs. Um, I think the Reaper is coming, and I think that it kind of started last year, and is starting to rear its ugly head with them. I think Travis Kelce is old. I think the fact that um, that the that there's not really a lot of names on this Chiefs team that really stick out besides Patrick Mahomes. I know that they just signed Kenneth Walker, which is a really big name, good name running back for them. Um, let's see if I can see some more stuff. Kenneth Walker, Rashee Rice coming back from injury. That's going to be huge. Justin Fields, I'm sure they're probably going to have some type of wildcat package with him. Harrison Smith's going to help with that defense. Obviously, Chris Jones is really good. Xavier Worthy still has a lot to be shown. Breaking back L'Jarius Sneed. I think the team will be good. I thought that they signed a big name receiver. Did they not? I thought that they just signed someone that was coming in. But I guess I must be mistaken. If they did, just let me know in the chat, and and I'll take a look at that later. But as of right now, there doesn't look like there's a lot of change other than on the defensive side of the ball, which, I mean, defense does win championships, but if there's nobody for Mahomes to throw the ball to, then I don't see them having as great as a year. I think Kelsey is going to have a step back again. I think this is probably his last year, and I just don't know if a duo of Rashee Rice and Kenneth Walker is enough. Again, I feel like they had a huge signing at receiver. I just can't remember it based off of these pictures, but maybe that would be the difference. But I think that they are probably wild card AFC if they don't just miss the playoffs altogether. Uh, I I don't think that I even really need to pull up their schedule, but let's take a look and see what they're going to be contending with this year for draft. Where are you at? Where are you at? There you are. I mean, they got a lot of help at receiver. Um, got some linebacker help. Got some line help. Um, it's hard to look at this team and get an idea that they're going to be good, especially since they just traded away the best player in the football to the Los Angeles Rams. Um, I think that their defense still will be pretty good. I do not know if this Browns team will do anything past that. I think if they, the problem is that I think that the Browns can hold you to 10 points, but I don't think that the Browns can score more than 10 points, if that makes sense. Um, I think that there is some potential with some of these teams. they may be able to squeak out 3 wins. I say 3 to 5 wins. 5 wins is probably the ceiling. But I don't think anybody would blame me if I took this Browns team and I put them right in the contention for number 1 overall pick. Like, I don't see it. Tennessee Titans. I really like the Titans. I think that they're a young, youthful team. I think that they are in the right direction of where they should be heading again. I think that the AFC South is very weak. And I would not be surprised if a team that has a really light front end of their schedule wins this division. Because I think that this is the most likely division to probably have a 9-10 team, or whatever it can be for 500, 8-9 or 7-9 or 7-10 team make the playoffs, or 8-9 team make the playoffs, or 9-8 is probably most likely going to be this division. I think the Titans probably have the hardest schedule to start off with, based off of the games that I'm seeing here. But I would not be surprised if they could do it. Like I said, I think that this might be the division that goes 8-9 or 9-8 against a team into the playoffs. I think they could potentially split with the division, or they could just be completely mediocre. So I think right now they're probably a C team, and I just need to be shown anything different from any of the other teams in that division. So, Bills, I'm going to put the Bills as a Super Bowl contender. I think I always say that and then I regret it. They should be a Super Bowl contender. They really should be. But it's hard to give them the credit for that, because last year, statistically, should have, and literally, figuratively with talent, should have been the year that they got it done. The best team that they had to worry about getting through the entire playoffs to get to a Super Bowl was Bo Nix with a broken foot, and they were not able to get through it. So I really think that if the Bills do not make a run, I was already telling myself this last year, if it's not last year, when is it going to be for the Bills? So I think right now the Bills are a Super Bowl contending team still, but at some point they're going to start falling down here, and that window is going to be missed, and they're going to have to repay Josh Allen. They're going to have to do something, like, because it just, at some point Josh Allen's going to be like, what do I got to do to win a Super Bowl? Because again, if it's not going, wasn't going to be last year, when is it going to be? Because there's no reason in a playoff team to where there's no Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, that you shouldn't have been able to make it if you're as great as you should say. And that might be me being a little bit harsh, being a little bit biased with the Bills, but if we're going to continue to say that you're this, you need to show us that you're this, because right now you're showing us that you're probably actually in this range. You should be a Super Bowl contender by all means of the things, but you're playing like you're just like fumbling the bag a lot of the time. So that's really the only reason why I can't put them up here. I will put them at the top of A, but that I can't put them here if they're not showing that they should be there. I'm biased. I have very strong feelings about the Green Bay Packers. I think that the Green Bay Packers are an overperforming team that has also benefited from better schedules over the past couple of years, and has been overall just like a thorn in their side. And I think that there has been a lot of things that have just gone right for the Packers, I should say, without being like too biased. Um, this next year coming up, it looks like the same thing. It looks like they're going to have a pretty easy schedule. Um, should it be too difficult for them to get through a lot of games? I'm going to say that they probably split with the Lions and split with the Bears. Um, so that does make it a little bit difficult. I do think that the schedule is extremely backhanded, and is just honestly the schedule is just kind of like balanced with where hard games would be, then balanced with like easier games. I would not be surprised if the Packers win 12 games. I'd not be surprised if they win anywhere between 8 to 12 games. Would not be surprised if they win the NFC North. But again, I don't think that I can put them in this top tier for division leaders yet. But I can definitely see them being there. I guess I do need to put somebody there if I'm going to do this. I will say that and it does hurt me to say this, I would say just based off of the schedule, it does look like they should be favored to win the division, just by pure outright. Um, but I'm not worried about it because Green Bay will fumble the bag. We see it time and time again. I'm not a believer in Jordan Love. I think that this team really thrives off vibes. And I think if the vibes go south, or if somebody gets hurt again, or if anything else happens, it kind of just like derolls the entire momentum that this team can have. So I would not be surprised if they do win the division. To be honest, Raiders drafted Francisco Mendoza. Last place schedule should, by those numbers, do a little bit better. I do think that they'd be better than the Dolphins, probably better than the Cleveland Browns. But ultimately, I still think that with everything being said and done, that the Raiders will probably fall right in around the C tier. They'll probably squeak out 5 wins, and that'll probably be all we could talk about the Raiders, to be honest. There's just not a lot of things that they could say. They're just not a very pretty team right now. Still got a lot of work to do, but I think that they're trending in the right direction. I think with Mendoza and with Ashton Genty, that they do have a good core they can work around. I think if they're able to get a good receiver, maybe if they're able to pick up somebody along the lines like a Tyreek Hill, or somebody like that around like the trade deadline, that this team could be a little bit better, or even in the free agency next year. But I think they're probably a receiver away from being an actual threat. And they need to work on that defense because they are only going to have Max Crosby for so long. So they need to make sure that they're cashing in on what they can, because eventually the Raiders are kind of just chilling in Las Vegas, basically. So I don't know. It seems to be where people are going to die. So I want to see the Raiders be good, but right now it just seems like the blueprint's there. I think obviously this year will tell if it's going to be with Mendoza. I think that this will be a heavy use of Genty, and I would not be surprised to see Genty break 1,500 yards. But we'll see what happens there. Colts, Daniel Jones had a great year last year. They started off really hot. I think they started off 7-1. Then kind of like floundered, ended up finishing 9-8 or 8-9, missing the playoffs. I think the Colts can probably be in a range of a B or a C tier. I think it just ultimately depends on how well they adjusted over the last season. I think that if I was to just gamble based off of without looking at their schedule at all, that I would probably put them in the range of probably a low B, in the sense that they could probably sneak in and get a wild card. But we will see. Again, same thing like I was saying earlier, Tennessee Titans being in this AFC South division. This could also lead into them just outright winning the division. If they win the division, obviously they're in a better spot. But I think, again, that this is probably going to be a division with a 9 or 8 win champion. So right now, putting them at B, and probably adjust this as we're getting a little bit closer. I think this is this is the first of the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons have to. We know what the Falcons are. They are Bijan Robinson, and that's it. Really, it's hard to look at the Falcons and not just see like they only go as far as how Bijan takes them. I think that there is a chance that Penix may take a step forward this year. Actually, I don't even know if Penix is their starting quarterback. To be completely honest with you, I usually do tend to root for the Falcons, but I'm not even sure if Tua is their quarterback. So I don't see that being enough to like be able to get them over it. I think the Penix experiment is probably over. Out of respect for family, I will say that I think that the Falcons are probably in the C tier range. Probably could get anywhere between 5 to 7 wins. But I'm going to say that there is also a real chance, and I think the Falcons fans need to tell themselves this, that there is a chance that they may be in this tier, to where they will be potentially looking at either a first overall pick or maybe even a top 5 pick. And I think a lot of Falcons fans would enjoy taking a top 5 pick. But right now, out of respect, I think that I'll put them probably in the C tier. I think that they're also very much in the same category as the AFC South, to where they could also just outright win the division and and be in the playoffs too. So you never know with some of these divisions, but I don't think any Falcons fan would be upset if I was to put them in the C range, just above probably where we are now at the top of C range. Because I do think that they would probably have a better record than the Giants, and we'll see from there. But this is all kind of like interchangeable right now. Commanders, I think, are right here in the C tier as well. I think they will only go as far as Jaden Daniels takes them. I think Jaden Daniels, if healthy, and the right tools around him, should probably get them in a spot to where they could probably be a wild card, or potentially better. But I don't see them. I don't see them uprooting any of these other teams that are currently in that wild card range of the B team for the NFC so far. So I do think that they are probably right now by top of C for probably getting anywhere between 5 to 9 wins. I'd say probably 10 wins is the ceiling for this team, but it just depends on Jaden Daniels. The Ravens should be a Super Bowl favorite. I think that again, this kind of goes in with the Bills. I think a lot of people have been saying that the Bills and the Ravens should be Super Bowl favorites every given year. I think that until the Ravens prove it, that they are in the same range as the Bills. I do think that the Ravens are the best team in the NFC North. I do think that they will win the NFC North. And I do think that them having the incoming Trey Hendrickson will help them out a lot on the defensive line, and they will suffocate people with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And I do think, as of right now, on paper, going based off of that information alone, that they are a Super Bowl favorite. Arizona Cardinals, didn't see much growth from them. Quarterbacks, I always forget that guy's name. But oh my gosh, what is his name? What is his name? It's gonna kill me, but I can't remember his name right now. But Jacoby Brissett. I just don't see that there's a world where you're fielding a team with Jacoby Brissett and you're expected to win more than 3 wins. Sorry. Jaguars, probably right here with the Colts. I could see them winning the division. I could see them getting in. Probably in this tier range. Detroit Lions, my team. So big time Detroit Lions fan if you didn't know. They are my favorite team. Been rooting for them since 2008. Yeah. Get all the jokes out of the way. Always been a big fan of the Detroit Lions. Always rooted for them. Love the team. Love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Love Jared Goff. Love everything that we're doing right now with Dan Campbell. However, I do think that with last year, that you did see a lot of our issues come to pass with our offensive line. We did have a lot of injuries on our defense. It does not appear that our defense is going to have very many changes, so I'm not expecting our secondary to be much better, especially since we just lost Terrion Austin for the season due to legal issues, and the fact that he's not even any longer on the team does make it a lot harder for us. So I think that there is a real possibility with the Detroit Lions that even though we are 2 years removed from the NFC Championship game, as much as I want to put them in this tier, I think the Detroit Lions are probably top of seat here. And I think that we probably miss out on the playoffs again, or a wild card again. And we are probably picking middle of the pack. And I think that if this happens, it will eventually put Dan Campbell on the hot seat, and we will have to start looking at potentially rebuilding this team. It's unfortunate, but we can only go as far as our line and our defense takes us, and if we're not seeing any improvement there, you typically have to start at the head and work your way down. And unfortunately, I just think that we have regressed to the point to where I cannot confidently say that we are at the level of some of these other teams here. Again, there's always a chance that we win the division, but right now I have us. I do have us as the odd man out right now. And that is unfortunate. We just nothing like too crazy. Panthers. I'll say Panthers are probably mid-C. Probably anywhere between 6 to 9 wins. I think the team's getting better. I think that they are potentially working their way up. It's just nobody in this NFC South really separates themselves from each other. So that's where we're kind of there. Los Angeles Rams are a Super Bowl favorite. In fact, I think that they are the favorite for the entire year. They just traded for Myles Garrett. They looked great last year. They're the only team last year to give Seattle any problems. And I think that they continue to build on that. And honestly, I would not be surprised if this is a 15-2 team. I would be shocked if this team does not end up at least in the NFC Championship game. At bare minimum. Anything less than that, I think, would be a failure for the Los Angeles Rams. They're the best team on paper. They're the best team in football, in my opinion. And I think that they just only got better, and their mantra, "Screw those picks," is just showing that it can work. So I think that until and again, keep in mind this is all subject to bias, and this is all going based off of nothing to go along with this, but um, or any information about like their schedule or any information about their draft or anything. Just going based off of recency and like how they did last year, I just think that this is probably the upper echelon of the teams that you'll see, and yeah, I don't think anybody's touching the Rams. Opposite side, I think the New Orleans Saints are going to have the number one overall pick. They were bad last year. They're going to be bad this year. Probably going to be bad next year. They're just not going to be a team that's going to do anything for a while. Their best bet probably is to sit and tank and see like what they can and can't get, whether that's trading number one pick for like a slew of picks or trying to get some immediate help. I don't keep up with college football that much to know who's immediately available as number one pick. Maybe Arch Manning comes in and he's the saint that comes and brings them back to greener pastures. But as of right now, no shot. I don't think this team's any good. Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers back again, got some new toys, revitalized defense, new head coach. I think that all going in fire with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers with the new head coach historically has not done very well in the season that has progressed past it. I do think that there is a chance that this is a wild card team. So we will put. I say that the Steelers, as they have been for the last couple of years, will probably go 9-8, 10-7, and will probably steal the last wild card spot for the AFC, like they've done the last couple of years. Cincinnati Bengals. If healthy, they're an A-tier team. If healthy. Maybe even, yeah, if healthy, they're an A-tier team. I don't think that there's a reason for me to not continue to think that. But I think that the Ravens are probably going to have a better record overall. This is also us coming in assuming that the team's going to be completely healthy all year. So if the Ravens win the division and ultimately are in the AFC Championship game, then I will probably have to say that the Bengals would probably fall anywhere between the wild card range, solid A range, maybe high C's. But I think that the Bengals, depending on injuries and depending on how the team shows up, will be in the wild card. And I think I'll move the Steelers down to top of C. That's the first one I'm looking at. The Texans, because the A tier specifically is for division leaders, division winners, I had to put the Texans here. I don't think that they are an A team. I do want to point that out right now. I do think that they are the better of the teams in the AFC South. So I'll put them on top of B. But they are going to win the division. And it's going to be basically their division until somebody else says otherwise. I do think that by what I says holds is that I do think that this will be a 9-8 or 10-7, 9-8, or 10-7, 9-8, or 8-7, 8-9 style division. I just think, based off of recency, that the Texans probably come out ahead, but it's probably anywhere between the Texans and the Colts. So I'll move the Jaguars down to C as well. Cowboys are probably a wild card just based off of talent, if everybody's healthy, if everybody's able to do what they need to do, they are probably a wild card team. Probably also win probably about 10 games, 10 to 12 games. Probably puts them right around the range of the 49ers, who I also think will probably win about 10 to 12 games. So that is probably about the range that I would say that the Cowboys are probably at. If healthy, on paper, they should probably win 10 to 12 games. Patriots. I expect a regression. I think that the Patriots benefited from having a very lackluster week schedule. They did what they needed to do. They won games. They beat whoever was in front of them. Managed to go into the Super Bowl. But I do think that they will not beat the Bills again this year. And I do think that they will probably be on the outside looking in with the Steelers. I would be pretty confident in saying that that's probably where they would end up. It's probably just on the outside looking in this year. Maybe right at the end. That's a wild card team. But this is probably where I would have them at the moment. Jets are the same as Saints. They are right there in the mix of having fighting for the number one overall pick. Roster's trash. They lost a lot of players. Got rid of Sauce Gardner. There is a lot. I'm pretty sure they got rid of Sauce Gardner. Yeah, Sauce Gardner went to the Colts. Just really a lot of hope with the Jets. I think it's honestly fair to say, why be a fan of the Jets when you can be a fan of the Giants, who actually do have an upside with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo. It's just real hard to be a Jets fan right now. And I think that they probably also need some type of revitalization with that franchise, whether it's big splashes in free agency, new ownership, new coach. They're just kind of middling. Buccaneers will win the division for the NFC South, so that will automatically put them into the playoffs. Again, same thing. I don't think that they are probably in this range. But being in the playoffs does mean that you are in the playoffs, so I think that they, like I did for the Texans, probably about right here. I think I'll move the Niners up just because I think that the Niners are probably an A-tier team. And yeah, move the Niners up. And then lastly, the Chargers. So with the Chargers, I wish somebody would look at me the way Jim Harbaugh looks at his quarterback, whose name is escaping me right now. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, Marion Hampton, great 1-2. Great team, great kids. I think this team could be very good. I think this team goes as far as the defense takes them. I think their defense is probably the part that's probably the most controversial on this team. I think the run first offense is kind of outdated with Marion Hampton, but we do know that Justin Herbert can sling it if he wants to sling it. So I would not be surprised if they come out like how they did last year in Rio and beat the Chiefs and start off hot. But I have seen a lot of times where the Chargers have just floundered and lost all potential. So I think with that being said, I will put the Chargers just behind the Houston Texans as the first wild card team for the AFC. As I do think that they will be a little bit better than the Chiefs, and that will be how that shakes up. So let's see how I would get this schedule. Keep in mind, again, the way that this list was calculated is these are who are my Super Bowl contenders. These are my for sure guaranteed playoff teams that I think are going to make the playoffs regardless. Potential wild cards, first one's out. Potential wild cards, teams that should probably make the playoffs if things roll in the right way, depending on health, things like that. But other factors may come into that. This is like I said, this is the wild card aspect of it. So with that being said, I think that my wild card for the NFC is going to be exactly how you see it listed here. It's going to be the Bears, the Cowboys, the Bears, and I am as much as I say this, I think Cowboys and Bears are for sure in the playoffs as the two wild cards. But I'm a little bit nervous of saying if the Vikings are. And the next team that I have on my list in order is the Lions, because the Buccaneers are going to win their division, so they're already guaranteed. But I think that there's a real world where we get left out. Oh, the Niners are the other wild card team. Yeah, sorry, forgot about the Rams being up there. But the Niners, Cowboys, and Bears will be the wild card teams. Vikings will probably be the first ones looking in. Just being right there in that middle average tier. Texans will win their division. Chargers will be the first wild card for AFC. Buccaneers will win their division. Chiefs maybe, but I don't think the Chiefs will be. I think they're going to be in the back here. I think it would probably be Chargers, Bengals, and it will probably be between the Colts and the Steelers. If I was a betting man, I'd say it'd be between the Colts and the Steelers. But I don't think you can rule out the Patriots, because I think there is a world where they could split again with the Bills, but I don't think they're going to win as many games as the Bills. So I think any of these three teams is fine. I think the Chiefs are first outside looking in. Now, these are the outside looking in: the Colts and the Steelers. And there you go. There's my tier list for the NFL season, just based off of opinions and how I feel about how they looked last year. Hopefully, some of the things that I said have made sense, and that this does kind of go in the sense of how you expect it to go. Again, there's no bias. I haven't really kept up with like any news outside of the year, other than like some of the major splash hits. This is also going off of a lot of vibes from like the last season, and just from what I have heard. But this is where I'm seeing. Obviously, we'll come back in and we'll check this later once we get a little bit closer to the season. Maybe once the season started, if we get a few games in, start seeing how that looks, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, this is over TCG. Check it out. and y'all have a great night.